Hey everybody, it's Sarah, the Real Simple Mama, and an unusually quiet afternoon here at our place with our girls. And unfortunately today I'm going to make a video that I was hoping to not have to make for at least another year or two. And the situation is that we lost one of our birds this morning. Dottie, my beautiful black and white, loudmouth, hilarious, gorgeous, snack-loving bird, passed away this morning, and as you can see, my other two are just completely lost, and it's very eerily quiet out here. And so forgive me as my voice wavers a little bit throughout this video, but while everything is still fairly fresh in my mind, it happened early this morning, and it's now about 3 o'clock, so it's been, the day. But I wanted to share, without going into gory details. I mean, there's not really any gory details, and I don't have I'm not going to show you a body or anything like that, but I wanted to tell you what happened and what our situation was, and then every tip, every piece of advice, every suggestion going forward, because unfortunately, this is now something that I've officially experienced, is losing a bird. And so, everything that I have read about, or that, other people have experienced, anything that I can do to help you, just so that you have these things in your mind for the inevitability of you coming out into the yard and you've lost a bird. Now I'll say, I've done a video on predator proofing and about predators, and thinking about that, and I will say with confidence that this was not a predator attack. This is sort of a mystery, and I did a very brief autopsy. I didn't cut her open or anything like that, but before I get into that and what I found and what I think, what happened this morning is, you can see we are in hurricane mode right now. We had crazy amounts of rain here in South Texas last week, so I keep the windows it's really easy for me to prepare the coop for rain, but otherwise, if it's not raining, I keep these open 24/7 right now so that there's circulation. And since we're in summer mode, my husband puts the birds to bed at night. We wait until like 8:30. That's about when it gets dark here this time of year. And my husband comes and puts the birds up, and then I check on them in the morning. I do all the cleaning and everything else. And then one of us gives the birds, ice and a snack in the afternoon. It's not as hot this week. We're only getting up into 94 or 95, but certainly by the time it gets 90 degrees, we're giving them ice. We make sure they have an extra source of water. My two remaining lost, confused, sad morning birds right now are chowing down on some fresh corn, and then here they come back for their ice water. So I came out this morning, and I guess it was really quiet. Dottie, if you've seen my other videos, she's the one who was always talking, always making noise. But somebody was doing their egg song as I was coming out. I don't know who it was. And, my other two girls, this door is, what's closed at night, so they can hang out in this zone and wait for us to let them out. And I didn't see Dottie, and I was like, that's weird. And as I was coming up, I can see in this window a little bit, and I saw her, and it looked like she was just laying down in the PDZ, which is there in the roosts, like under the roost. And I was like, what the hell is she doing laying in there? Like, she never does that. And as I got close, I could see that she was actually laying on her side, and she had gone rigor mortis, so she was stiff, her legs and everything. And of course I broke down and started crying. I cried for like an hour. My poor bird. But I cleaned her out and got all of that taken care of. And so I guess I'm going to use, I hope this isn't too morbid, but I'm going to use, this was made by a wonderful friend of mine, and this is the bird that I lost. And so what I did is, there was no blood, there was no sign of a struggle or anything like that. Obviously my other two are okay. The coop and everything and all the doors and all that stuff are intact. So I will say with confidence this was not a predator. Unless it was like a spider bite or something really weird that I couldn't see. So if something happens, for me, it was obviously the mourning and the sorrow and of course the shock of losing a bird. She was only not even quite a year and a half old. So, this certainly was not something we were anticipating or expecting or anything like that. I was expecting my girls to live at least 3 years, 3, 4, 5 years at least. So, you want to do a quick once-over, of course. I guess thinking about, okay, how can I educate everybody? What can I learn from this? What can I do to help other people? And, of course, I wasn't going to pop on and like, hey, look, here's a dead chicken, and this just happened. And, I didn't feel that was appropriate. But now I feel like it will be part of my grieving process to try to talk through this with all of you and, to try to teach you And yes, I'm crying again over a stupid $2 chicken. This is so, these birds, it's ridiculous. So, the first thing is you want to learn, at least I do, I want to know what happened and why. Not only so I feel like I can do honor to the little soul that we lost, but so I can protect my other birds. But at the same time, of course, you want to protect your human family, right? Like your children, and you want to make sure that you're not endangering anybody else. So, let me back up a little bit. The proper way to handle, I mean, even if you find like a wild bird or something in your yard, is you don't want to touch it with your hands. There are a lot of diseases and mites and things like that that won't affect people. Like if my birds had poultry lice, for example, and you can learn more about them and other bugs like in my bug video. But stuff like that is not going to hurt people. But if they have some other type of germ or bacteria or whatever, I mean, that may potentially affect humans, which is why we're not supposed to handle chickens and then touch our face, right? Or handle your chickens and then go eat a sandwich. So when you're handling a dead bird, you can use, in this case, and I know it sounds horrible, but we used a trash bag, and I put my hands inside the trash bag and grabbed her. So basically I wasn't touching her with my bare hands ever. And then, you can invert the trash bag and pull it over her to get her out. I blocked this off so that the other two couldn't come through the window, and then I had this open all morning and I cleaned everything out. But like I said, I mean, we didn't find anything. And then I laid her down in my lap on top of the bag here, and I did an examination right here. Which took a while because I was crying. I couldn't see what I was doing. But I mean, you want to check anything you can see. You want to check their eyes and their beak and their nostrils. Does it look like there was anything weeping? Was there, mucus? Does it look like they suffocated? You want to feel for their breastbone and their crop to see, does it feel like something was impacted? Does it feel big and hard like a tumor, which might be an impacted crop or a problem with the crop? If your bird obviously feels like they don't weigh anything, then maybe there was something going on to where they were losing weight. The other easy thing you can check is you want to look at their vent to make sure, were they laying healthy eggs? And I got a good egg from her either yesterday or the day before. My girls are over a year old now, so they don't necessarily lay every day. And of course, it's freaking hot. So, and I know Dottie has always been my weak layer. She had the lightest colored eggs, the smallest eggs. So, but I don't feel like she was egg bound, and you just feel, not the vent itself, but the poofy part that's here, just to feel like, if you've ever seen the internal workings of the chicken, the tube that the eggs come down as they're developed and as they're about ready to be laid, to see if she was egg bound, if there was anything there. But there was nothing. There was nothing. So I still have no idea. I have some guesses. She might have gotten overheated. Like I said, she might have been bitten by something small and venomous. Just took somewhere like where she's, it doesn't make any sense, but maybe somewhere where she's got feathers where I didn't see. Or maybe we just lost her. Chickens can be very sensitive to respiratory stuff. They can have very weak hearts. And like I said, Dottie was the weakest layer. So I don't know. And so I sat out with these two for a while. Hey, you miss your sister? You miss her? It's so quiet without her, isn't it? And so now I'm on high alert with the other two. And she's all dirty. She's been playing they do have an official dust bath now in the tire. But we had so much rain that I think today's the first day it's been dry. And of course, Lollipop's been digging around in there all morning. But now I'm on high alert watching the other two. Like, are they sneezing? Are they sniffling? Like, what the hell is going on? So I apologize. This video is a little bit more jumping around as far as topics and suggestions than normal. But I just wanted to come out and knock this video out today. I feel like it would make me feel a little bit better. So as far as handling a dead bird, what do you do? If you feel the urge to do an autopsy, that's totally up to you. If I had had the tools, or if I would have thought like, hey, I think it was this, then you can always try cutting open their crop, which is just a little sac that's right here. You could do as extensive of an autopsy as you like, of course. What to do with the body? In my experience and in my just personal preference, I normally would honor her by burying her, but I don't know, since having chickens and thinking about all the potential predators that are around, I would never want an animal to dig her up and try to eat her. That would be just extremely disturbing for me and for my children. And so we opted to just bag her up, and you can freeze the bird. You can put it in a deep freezer, and then once it's frozen, then you can dispose of it, just putting it in your trash. So that's the plan with us. If you don't have a vet around or like an urgent animal care around you that can service chickens, you might want to find one and just have them, in your contacts, so you can search for like, chicken 911 or chicken vet or whatever, because there are a lot of, at least here where we are, we're not in the middle of nowhere. We're pretty close to San Antonio. You may be surprised at how few vets you have in the area who would help you with a chicken. Or, I mean, if you have a Facebook group or whatever, just finding somebody where it's like, hey, if something looks really bad, if one of my birds gets really, really sick or really, really hurt and I need help, where can I take my bird? So it may not be a bad idea for you to find someplace. Obviously, I didn't have time to do that, and I'm not going to, I'm not going to pay to have somebody do an autopsy of my bird because I'm not really concerned about anything, and I've only got 3. They're not my livelihood or anything like that. But just so you have somebody. And then obviously, you want to clean everything out and then just keep an eye on your other birds on high alert. It's so quiet. I hate it. It's so quiet. Now these 2 are still laying and they're eating and drinking, and I've cleaned out all of their food. I've cleaned out all of their water because the good news about the diagnosis was, she didn't get eaten, and I'm hoping that she didn't suffer because she was acting normal yesterday. So that's what gives my heart a little bit of peace. But what sucks going forward is because I don't know what happened, I don't really know anything specific that I can do to protect these 2. So we're just watching them. We're making sure they're not getting too hot. That's 3 bottles of ice that's filled up with cold water. They have their other water. They have their regular food. It's actually not as hot out here today. It's humid as hell, but it's only 94. So but we are just heartbroken, and that was really hard. I cried all morning. It was such a shock, and she's so young, and it's one thing if like both of our dogs are well over 10 years old. My cat is 15, and so with that, it's a little bit of a different mentality, right? Because you have senior pets. But these girls, they're not even a year and a half old, so we don't really know what the hell happened. I'm grateful that it wasn't a predator. I'm hoping that it wasn't something that we did. She, as far as we know, she didn't eat anything or have any snacks or anything that was dangerous. And I'm not ready to think about it yet, but there's the decision also of, well, are we just going to keep the 2 or are we going to get some more? I'm only allowed to have 3, and I don't know that I like the idea of trying to introduce just one bird. I don't know if these 2 would gang up on that chicken or what would happen with that. So that's some more stuff that I'm going to research and find out. But this was a video I was hoping to not have to make for a while. And everybody on my chicken forum has been very kind and very supportive because they understand what it's like, to lose a bird. I'm sure some of you guys have lost pets throughout your life as well, and it's hard when you feel like, could it have been my fault? Maybe it was my fault. I don't know. What can I do to protect these girls? As well as, the horrible inevitability of, it doesn't matter how well you take care of your pets, and it doesn't matter how much you love them, one day they're probably going to pass away. And one reason I'm keeping this on them is just so I have documentation later. But there's no sneezing, there's no coughing, there's no sniffling from these 2. On the chicken forum, they were thinking, well, maybe it was a respiratory thing. Oh, that's the other thing. I've been like racking my brain. This has thrown me so off. Remember, also, if you haven't seen my predator video, another thing that I point out is chickens, like other animals who are typically prey, things like mice and rabbits and deer, they are very much part of the pack or the flock mentality of, I don't want to appear weak because then either one of the alphas in my herd or my flock will pick me off, or an attacking predator will pick me off first because they can tell that I'm weak. So you do want to always keep an eye on your birds, and don't just kind of glance at them and like, all right, they have 2 wings and 2 legs and okay, they're good. But you do want to stay out there for a while because chickens, like some of those other animals I mentioned, are very, very good at hiding illness. and they could be very, very good at hiding injury. Or even something like weight loss. If you don't go and ever pick up your birds, and I pick mine up almost every day. Usually I pick up 2 of them. Well, now I only have 2, but I would pick up 1 or 2 of them every morning and be like, all right, random check, and I check the bottom of their feet, and I just check to make sure their breastbone feels good, and that they just feel like a chicken, right? Because they're so poofy that it could be misleading, and they could have dropped a ton of weight and you may not even notice. So they can be sneaky because they're trying to protect themselves. But I really honestly, I picked up Dottie 2 days ago. Like, I really honestly don't feel like it was anything like that. So as you can see, I'm very emotional still. I'm very scatterbrained. But I thought, okay, it's time. I got to go out there and check on the other 2. I want to observe the other 2, and I had all of these random thoughts and random things that I wanted to do to try to help you. So just a few suggestions for, how to handle a dead bird. What you might want to do as far as freezing the bird, or if you wanted to do an autopsy, things you need to check for, maybe finding a vet. And then, of course, watching your other birds for a while. We may get a couple more in the future. We're only allowed to have 3, but I may push it and have 4. So I can introduce 2 new ones at a time and get some full-grown hens so that they could compete with the size of these 2. I don't know yet. I'm not really ready to think about replacing her. But the last suggestion that I had before I get off here is just thinking about having documentation. Sounds too formal, but having some kind of notebook where you keep an eye on the preferences of your birds, different things about your birds, almost like you're keeping a medical journal. And that could be things for, like, Lollipop is the one who started laying first, or this is where they were hatched and when they were hatched, so how old they are and where they're from, their breed, just any kind of information. And that's for whether somebody's got to come in and take care of your birds, like we're going to the coast in a couple of weeks, or for, like I said, for when you find a vet. But one of the things that'll really help also is to know what, sorry, chicken poop, and is to know what, see, and their poop looks normal too, what color and what size egg each of your chickens lay. And when they're first starting to lay, it may be kind of like a process of elimination. But like, I know her egg is very dark and her egg is actually lighter, because I remember it's the opposite of the color of their feathers. Dottie's eggs were the smallest, and they were also very light, and she was the most inconsistent layer. So, just to kind of help narrow down what's going on, or for you to kind of just have some more medical information. Just to keep that in mind. And it could be something as simple as, hang a gallon Ziploc out here and have a notepad and just jot down random stuff as you need to. And then it's here, or, it could be on your phone or whatever. But I don't really want to talk anymore. I'm kind of done. So I'm going to end it here. I apologize for not being the high energy, extremely sarcastic and entertaining and, whatever that you are used to on this channel, but I don't want to BS anybody. I really don't feel like having that kind of mentality right now, because I'm just so lost. I keep thinking, like, where is she? It's so quiet. So if you have gone through, a loss of a bird, or you have any other things that you would do, or things that you have read about or whatever, you are welcome to put that in the comments. I appreciate the condolences, but don't feel like, I'm putting up this video because I expect people to say that they're sorry or anything like that. This is for education and for the greater purpose of, well, maybe I can help somebody else. Of course, I will do an update video if I ever do figure out anything that happened with her, or if we have come to any other conclusions. But like I said, physically she looked fine. We're disposing of the body in a way that will do honor to her, because she won't get, torn up or anything like that. So here's my little duo. I'm not a trio anymore. And I'm Sarah, the Real Simple Mama, and I'm always here to try to help you guys, and we will be back before too long.